What's up YouTube? It's Tuck coming at you with another video, and I'm so excited to be back on the channel here. And if you can hear a difference in my voice, my new mic finally came in. I got a nice mic. I think it sounds much better. I think I've gotten everything figured out with the settings. I'll know for sure once I check this recording and once the video goes up to YouTube. But today in this video, it's not going to be a long video like
Are you sure about that?
looking at my class setups, and we're going to be recording another video right after this and posting it hopefully tomorrow. Showing my settings in game. There's a lot of glitchy stuff with movement this year, and I think there are certain settings that help figure it out and things like that. So we'll walk through all of my settings in depth. But this video right here, we're just going to be walking through my class setups for game battles and eventually for league play when it comes out. There's a few standard class setups for each person based on your role, so that's something to talk about before we get into the classes. But before we actually hop into the classes themselves, first we'll look at kill streaks and field upgrades in case someone is brand new to the scene. So with GBs, when you come here, you can actually come to CDL, and you can click it and it'll show you what weapons and what kill streaks are banned. So for example, when you go to your kill streaks, the only 3 kill streaks you can use are glide bomb, strafing run, and bombing run. So I have each of these 3 equipped. Honestly, the only one really worth using is the glide bomb. The strafing run is god awful, and I think the bombing run might get GA'd, which is a gentleman's agreement, an agreement to not use it if it hasn't been GA'd already. So if it's been GA'd already, I don't know about it. But even if it wasn't GA'd, if you're playing a respawn, it goes through so many times, and it has just as good of a chance of killing your teammates as it does the enemy. So you could even consider taking these last 2 off, but I'll leave them on just for the sake of doing it. So there's that. And then field upgrade, there's only 2 available ones, supply box and dead silence. Please, for the love of Jesus, do not run supply box. Please use dead silence. So that's very, very straightforward when it comes to kill streaks and field upgrades, but let's go ahead and hop into the loadouts. So hopping into the loadouts, before we actually look at them, I just again want to remind you, I am a SMG main. So what you'll see with my classes, I have 4 SMG classes, 2 automaton classes, 2 STG classes, 1 lightweight AR class, and then a sniper class. I can't tell you, I don't think I've actually used one of these STG classes in a GB one time yet. I just have them here because we have 10 class options. I don't need 10 SMG classes, especially with being able to edit the classes between rounds and in game. So this is my setup. If you're an AR main, it's probably going to be like reverse. You're going to have much more STG and automaton classes than you are MP40 SMG classes. But this is just my loadouts. Regardless, you're still going to see the best attachments for the guns and perks and everything like that. So the way mine works is I don't have it labeled by game mode. I have them labeled by my perk 3 and my tactical. So looking at perks, the thing with perks is perk 2, I'll start with perk 2 because it's the easiest. As you can see, there's only 2 options to use, engineer and radar. Just like with dead silence, do not use engineer. Engineer is basically useless, considering that the only equipment they can throw are stuns and nades. There's no claymores or anything like that. And radar is just so helpful when it comes to this game. So radar is a no-brainer for perk number 2. But then perk number 1, I feel like there's a no-brainer for respawn, and there's a no-brainer for search. So respawn, you can either go fortified or survival training. There's definitely 2 options, but I choose and I prefer survival training because I think stuns are thrown much more, and stuns are much harder to avoid. So oftentimes people don't cook nades perfectly. So in the time that they do cook them, they throw it and you have a little bit of time to maneuver, get out of the way maybe. But with stuns, they're thrown in and you're getting hit. You have no indicator that it's there, and you're hit. And if you don't have this on, you're screwed regardless. So I highly suggest survival training. But if you'd rather deal with stuns and nades, then you can definitely run fortified by any means there. And then the perk for S&D is obviously Ninja. So Ninja is a must for S&D. Some people even prefer using Ninja on respawns. I personally don't, just because if people know how they're playing, they don't need to hear your footsteps most of the time. And again, stuns are just so effective. Maybe when trophies are put in the game, if that ever happens, I'll switch to Ninja and respawn, but we'll just have to see. Definitely don't use cold-blooded though. These are the 3 to choose from, and my suggestion would be survival training for respawn and Ninja for S&D. So that's it for perk 1. We've already talked about perk 2, and then perk 3 Again, there's only two options here. You are not going to be wanting to use scavenger. It's pretty pointless. If you're playing the game competitively properly, you're going to be trading kills. You're not going to be going on huge kill streaks where you need to pick up people's weapons or pick up ammo from dead bodies. It's just not going to happen. So the two options are double time and lightweight. So just like with survival training in Ninja, I believe there are two different scenarios that I use double time and lightweight, effectively based on my class and the purpose and what I'm doing. In Respawn, I use double time pretty much all the time except for off the very first spawn when the game is starting. Now, I technically do not know the exact timing on which one's actually going to get you to a certain point faster. But what I do know is when you have a knife on your class, that doubles your attack sprint regardless, the length of your attack sprint. So lightweight is going to increase your movement speed and make you get there faster. So typically I use lightweight off the very, very first spawn to get to the place I'm trying to get to quicker. And then I'll use double time once I'm done with that life and can switch classes to double time, and I'm able to just overall just hack sprint around the map quicker. And things like that. And I've also seen with double time, because you have to be tack sprinting to bust through doors and stuff, it can also be very handy to have double time for the sake of being able to tack sprint more and being able to tack sprint longer. So I definitely suggest, if I were you, double time for like mid game and Respawn, and then lightweight for the initial break. And even I personally choose to use lightweight and search and destroy, but that's again because I'm an SMG. So that's it for perks. As far as overarching go, I will go over the perks again as I go from class to class and I explain them. And we'll hop into the guns in just a moment. I do want to look first at lethal and tactical. So the only lethal options are the frag and the gammon bomb. I use the frag because the gammon bomb is GA'd. If you don't use GAs, then I would suggest using the gammon bomb if you're an SMG player, because it's just really helpful if you get shots down to be able to throw it in the hill or something. But it's GA'd. I typically don't use the GAs unless the GB team we're playing is using GAs. Then if they're using GAs, then I'll use GAs just so the game is fair. But I always try to stay away from using the stuff that's been agreed upon not using by the pros. Not because I have to, but because I just like that level playing field. And they GA it for a reason, because it can be not unfair because everybody can use it, but a little bit abusive and can mess up the flow of the game and can be really annoying. So I run frag grenade. If you don't care about GAs, run gammon bomb, but I was just running frag grenade until you see that the other team isn't using them. And then two options for tactical are stun and smoke. In Respawn, I would say 95% of the time you want to be using stuns. In S&D, it depends on your role, it depends on how you play, it depends on what you prefer. So it's completely up to you and what you prefer there. You need to have at least one class set up with a smoke grenade so that you can use it if necessary in whatever scenario. It can be really helpful, but again, this is mostly preference as far as that goes. So with the perks and lethal and tactical out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the guns. And the classes themselves and my thought process in each. So starting with the MP40, this is my gun. And again, keep in mind, I am following GAs. So this is a GA following class. I can show you what it would look like if I wasn't following GAs, but this is what the GA class looks like. You have the F8 stabilizer. The choice is between the stabilizer or the strife compensator. The strife gives you 1 recoil control, but the stabilizer gives you +2 accuracy and +1 damage range at the cost of -1 sprint to fire speed. And I don't even really consider hip fire accuracy because I don't hip fire a ton. But that's not a big deal. And what you should do is be pressing R2 to look at the actual percentages. So your hip fire accuracy decreases by 3%, and your sprint to fire decreases by almost 5%. So it's not even a full frame, so it's not even that big of a deal. Meanwhile, your effective damage range increases by 10% and your recoil by 7%. So definitely F8 stabilizer here, but if you really want to worry about recoil, you can go with a strife compensator. For barrel, I use a 317mm Krosnik. This is the standard. Everyone is using this barrel. If you're not using this barrel, you're definitely put behind as far as the competition goes. So definitely use this barrel. Optic, there's 3 options to choose from. The Krosnik ISO 2m, the Krosnik ISO 1m. I think that's meter. I'm not 100% sure though. Or the slate reflector, or even maybe the Niter Model 47. I would suggest, unless you really can't stand the iron sights, using one of these two. I'll be honest with you, I personally can't tell much of a difference between the two. I just use the 1m. I think it's like the width of the iron sight. I could be wrong, but I just use the one because I can't tell much of a difference, but it's just the one that I picked and stuck with, to be honest with you. So that's what I use, but either one of these two or one of the smaller reflex sights if you can't stand the iron sights. But this actually does help your aim down sight speed, which is always beneficial. For the stock, again, this one is pretty standard. The Krosnick 33 meter folding. It gives you +2 sprint to fire speed, +1 movement speed. You can try and go for either of these. There is a little bit of debate, but at this point in the game, the most standard build is a Krosnick 33 meter folding. Then for the proficiency and kit, you can mess around with these if you want to. You can definitely mess around with these. I use brace, which is initial accuracy and recoil. So as you start shooting, your gun isn't going quite as crazy. And I think in this game, as you shoot, the recoil gets less and less. So this helps your first couple of shots stay on target. And this is what most people are going to use. Some people use steady for reduced movement penalties, which I think is useful. It may even be useful to use this in search with a lightweight class if you're really trying to get somewhere fast. But again, if I'm trying to rush somewhere fast off the break, I'm just going to pull out my knife and run with it. So this could be helpful, again, to reduce your movement penalties and be able to move a lot quicker. But I prefer brace, and unless you are super cracked out and don't want to use brace, then I would use brace, but that's up to you. And then kit, quick for sprint speed so that you can be a little more finessey around. You can use on hand for equipment dexterity, but for SMGs, the equipment dexterity is already really fast, and it doesn't change that much to it. So I use quick just to have some sprint speed while I am running around the map and things like that. Dropping into the rear grip, we're going to be looking at stippled grip tape. This is what I use, what most of the pros are using for recoil recovery and initial accuracy and recoil. There are a couple here that help with aim down sight speed and things like that, but most of our other attachments are helping with that, and the gun is already pretty fast in general. So stippled for recoil recovery and initial accuracy and recoil is always extremely helpful. And for the magazine size, the only one worth using here is 8mm rounds, but they're GA'd because they're insanely good. It's like a 2-shot kill. So they're GA'd. I don't use them, but it's definitely easy to tell if someone on the opposing team is using them. So I usually try not to pop them out. But the one that people do use is 24-round fast mags. This is definitely a viable option, especially if you're playing 2v2 GBs. There's no sense in really not using it because most of the time you're not going to be shooting more than 24 rounds at a time regardless. What I've found though is that if I do get kills in quick succession, most of the time I'm not going to be getting 4, but even if I get 3 kills in quick succession, I still have plenty of ammo with just 32 round mags. So that's what I've been running. It's completely up to you. This one is completely preference. I just choose not to use it. You definitely can if you want to. And for ammo type, I use lengthened. I think hollow points might be GA'd, but even if they weren't, it takes off 2 damage range and it screws up, just to increase your limb damage, which you're not really aiming at the limbs. So it's a little newbie for the most part, but I think it might be GA'd. Lengthened's definitely a way to go for bullet velocity. It makes it much more hit scan. And lastly, for underbarrel, I use the Carver foregrip. There's a debate here between using the Carver and the SMLE pistol grip for sprint to fire speed. But again, that sprint to fire speed, this is increasing it by 9%, so it's a pretty decent amount. And then +4 ADS speed, where it actually it doesn't show that here. But I just prefer the Carver for the recoil control. That recoil control is extremely handy. And when I go from Carver to SMLE, I cannot gun like I want to. I can't shoot at long ranges, so I definitely suggest the Carver. But again, if you prefer the SMLE, then you can definitely run it if you want to. And then as far as GAs go, if it wasn't for GAs, if there weren't any GAs, obviously the 2 things to change would be the F8 to the recoil booster for increased fire rate, and then magazine, you use the 8mm round. Those would be, I think, the only 2 things you would change as far as what's GA'd. But that's my MP40 class setup, and that's what I use on each of my MP40 classes. And for the RAT, I'm not going to walk through each attachment. I'll just show you. F8 stabilizer. Lightweight trigger, I would use rapid action. I'm not sure if it's G8 or not, actually. I need to figure it out, because if it's not G8, I'll definitely use it. But lightweight trigger for now. Lengthened ammo, fabric grip, fleet for weapon swap quickness and movement speed, and then quick to sprint faster around the map if I need to get around the map quicker. But that's my MP40. That's the RAT that I use on all of my classes. And the reason I have these 4 MP40 class setups right here, there's 2 with double time and 2 with lightweight, both with a stun and a smoke. So typically, I run stuns in respawn, and I run smokes in search. So my stun classes I have on survival training. With my smoke class, I have on ninja. For this stun class, actually, I also have on ninja though, because what I have found is there's some maps, as I'm learning the maps, like Bocage, if I'm playing Bocage or Bocage Overstay, if I'm playing defense on Bocage, most of the time I'm not going to be smoking anything, or really defense on most maps, I'm not going to be smoking anything. But if I'm playing offense on Bocage or offense on Berlin, I do like to smoke stuff often. So I like to have both of these options set. And the reality of it is, like I said, I'm not using lightweight most of the time in hardpoint unless it's the initial break. And if I was going to use hardpoint in the initial break, I would just, before the game or as the game's starting, go to my lightweight stun class and swap ninja to survival training really quickly. Use it for the initial break and then swap to double time stun. For the most part, each of these three classes are for search. And really this double time smoke class, I don't use it often with double time unless I know I'm not going to be moving somewhere quickly. If I know I'm going to be sitting back, play more reserved, I'll use it. But most of my search is with lightweight because I like to push quickly to places. I like to move a little quicker, dodge bullets better, things like that. And then I'll use these occasionally, and this for respawn. So those are my 4 MP40 classes and my thought process for it. Double time with each, and a different tactical with each for the sake of respawn and for the sake of having different perks. So that's my MP40 class. I would suggest doing something like that just so you're not having to change classes often. Have your set respawn class like my double time stun. Have your set search classes like lightweight smoke, lightweight stun, and then be able to adjust if you need to. But I would say at least 3 or 4 classes on your main weapon that you're using most of the time, and you'll be pretty set with not having to change it up too often. So other than these 4 classes, I have 2 more AR classes of each. Really, technically 3 of the auto. I have the auto stun, auto smoke, STG stun, STG smoke, and then AR with lightweight. So these are pretty self-explanatory, the same concept as before. Even if I'm using an AR in search, most of the time I'm the guy on my team who's designated to smoke crosses and things like that. So almost every time, if I'm ever using an AR in search, I'm going to be using a smoke grenade because I'm sitting back more. I don't need stuns quite as much. My other teammates are using stuns to check things, and I'm using smokes to check the cross or to smoke something, so I don't have to worry about being shot from that direction, something like that. So I have these 2 classes, the SCG and auto for search, and then an SCG stun and an auto stun for respawn with survival training. Same as that class, is the only thing different is the stuns and the first perk. And then I have an AR lightweight class for if I'm playing on like Gavutu or whatever, and we're running to the first hill and I need lightweight to get somewhere fast, or I'm running an AR for some reason and we're doing a Russian aside or something. Just very specific scenarios if I need lightweight while I'm running an AR. And if I'm running a lightweight with an AR, I'm going to be using the automaton because it's better mid-range, close range option as an AR. But looking at the actual classes and what the guns are, this is the automaton class, the F8 stabilizer. Again, I don't use this often. I don't have as much experience with this as I do with the MP40, so I'm just going to be telling you what the class that I have is. The Anastasia sniper, this is pretty much standard for everyone. It increases bullet velocity and range and accuracy. It's like long barrel basically. Slate reflector, or you can use a Niter model. I just prefer the slate reflector. Zac Skeletal, this thing was broken. It made your strafe speed so fast, but they fixed it and nerfed it a little bit. But it's still definitely the thing to use because it really increases your ADS walking time by 35%, which is absolutely insane. Probably the best attachment on any gun in the game. Proficiency, you have Frenzy, health regeneration after kills, so you're not getting traded as easily. And then kit you have on hand for better equipment dexterity because there's not anything for movement speed. So equipment dexterity to be able to throw things faster is always extremely helpful. Stippled grip, again, just like with the MP40, it helps with your recoil, helps with the initial accuracy. Linked in ammo, again, for the sake of bullet velocity, to make it more like hit scan. And then you can use the 45 round mags. I think it might have been G8. I don't think, I heard it might have been, I don't know for sure. But I don't, just because it decreases your ADS speed. So I'd rather have the ADS speed and be able to reload because this gun does already reload pretty fast. And the M1941 hand stop for recoil accuracy, for recoil control and accuracy, for basically no cons at all. You're never going to be hip firing with this gun if you are using it wrong. most of the time. So that's my class with the automaton. So let's go ahead and look at the STG. So the STG class is very similar with like the equivalent perks to use. Scythe compensator for recoil control. VDD 760, which is like the Anastasia, I'm pretty sure. It just makes your gun better at long range. It gives you better damage range and makes it much more accurate and controllable. Slate reflector, again, this is preference. The Constance tactical stock, again, for movement speed, ADS movement speed and recoil. It's an incredible perk, or an incredible attachment that you should be using on every AR. Proficiency, using Vital, because for some reason the proficiencies for this gun are different from the automaton. I'm not sure why, but you could use focus for +1 flinch resistance, but increased area for critical hits is really helpful, which means like if you hit somebody in the neck or maybe the upper chest, I don't know the exact location, it's going to count like a headshot, which is kind of broken, to be honest, and that's probably why sometimes you get killed so fast by the STG. And again, kit on hand for equipment dexterity. Rear grip, again, going stippled for every gun across the board for recoil recovery and initial accuracy and recoil. Not changing the ammo size because it decreases your ADS speed, but that's personal preference. Lengthen ammo type to make it more hit scan, and the M1941 hand stop for that recoil control and accuracy. So that's going to do it for the SCG class, and for all of my AR classes based on how I have them set up and why I have them set up the way that I do. So last we're going to be looking at the sniper class, and I do use the sniper with a pistol, obviously, because I want to have a pistol even though I won't be able to run around quite as fast. And I use it with lightweight because I'm typically trying to get to a position really, really quickly to hold an angle or something like that, because it's not like in certain maps where in old CODs where you would spawn and basically be where you needed to be. You got to actually move to get to the cutoff before them. So I use lightweight. I'm obviously only ever doing it in search and destroy, so I use ninja. And I use a stun grenade to benefit me as if I have to run around with my pistol or have to get out of a situation. My rat is the same exact class as before, as my other ones. I actually have rapid action on this one, but this is the same exact rat class. My sniper, I'm not sure if this is actually the class that the pros are using. I haven't checked it. I probably need to. I just went with whatever I possibly could to make my gun aim as fast as possible. So the G28 compensator for recoil control, because there's nothing really for ADS speed in your barrels or in your muzzle. Barrel, the Krosnick 520 rapid for movement speed, sprint to fire, and aim down sight speed. It takes away your one hit kill area a little bit, which I may need to take it off. I may need to just do this aim down sight speed, or may need to do this, the VDC. I don't really know super well for this one. I'm actually going to change to the 560 for aim down sight speed, but it just takes away a little bit of bullet velocity. I think is what I'm going to do, but again, that could be the wrong thing to use. I'm not 100% sure. You might want to check another source for that. Short stock, movement speed, ADS speed, sprint to fire, aim walking, no brainer. Accuracy, recoil, aim walking, steadiness aren't as essential. Flinch resistance is not that great, but it is what it is. Proficiency, frenzy for health regeneration after kills. I think shrouded is supposed to be GA'd. I'm not 100% sure. I could use fleet for weapon stop quickness, but I'm already using that on the rat, so I'm not going to use it. So I'm just going to use frenzy. Kit on hand for equipment dexterity, use things faster and do everything I need to do with equipment. Fabric grip, again, for ADS speed, sprint to fire, and hip fire doesn't really matter, but for those two things above it. The 3-round mag, again, simply for reload quickness, and most importantly, ADS speed. You're hardly ever going to be finding yourself needing to use all 4 or 5 rounds in quick succession, so you'll have time to reload, especially with better ADS speed. Lengthened ammo for +3 bullet velocity, just to make it hit scan again, and then the SMLA pistol grip for sprint to fire speed and hip fire accuracy, so I'm able to pull up quicker if I need to be. So that's going to do it for my sniper class, and that's going to really do it for all of my classes. So I know it wasn't a super long video, which was the plan. I didn't want it to be super long, but I hope this helped you. I hope this helped you to kind of learn exactly how you should be setting up your classes based on your role, and more importantly, what perks, what lethal, what tactical, what attachments to use to make sense for what you're doing in your play style. The last thing I'll say is the knife. I use the knife on classes for S&D because most of the time I'm not going to be in a situation where I need to pull out my pistol because I've used all my ammo. And or my rush classes like this AR lightweight class, I use the knife on my smoke, lightweight stun, and this smoke class because again, these are mostly all for S&D or pushing off the break, where I'll need to get there as fast as possible with this fighting knife, and then as I hop into the respawn for the rest of the game using the class with a pistol in case I need it. But that's going to do it for me, guys, and for this class setup video. I hope you enjoyed it. These classes are subject to change, and I may edit it in the future to fit the new meta and things like that. But let me know what you think of the new mic. Let me know what you think of my classes, and please let me know if it helped you out in the comments below. If it did, if you liked the video or want to see more from me in the future, have a lot of exciting things coming like GBs. I'm going to be training some people. I'm going to be coaching some people as I send in gameplay and things like that. So if you want to do that, then definitely do. But let me know what you would like to see in the comments, and I'll definitely be sure to try and do that if at all possible. And if you please like the video, comment, and subscribe so you can see more content from me and turn on post notifications. Doing all those things helps me out tremendously and helps me get pushed out to more people. But I appreciate you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.